Hi there. Bitcoin is up by about 1.5% today, but as of this week, it's still down by 1%. So let's take a look through the Wyckoff lens and see where it's heading and what the whales are doing with it. If you're new to my session, I'll cover the Wyckoff stage, the trend range potential, as well as key price levels. These are education content only, not financial advice. The weekly chart of Bitcoin is showing us that the price is still hovering around the key level of 68,000, this green key level over here. Okay, so in terms of Wyckoff, it's potentially part of a sign of weakness. Why I say potentially, not certainly, it's because in a lot of these situations when the price are on the way back to accumulation, it may not necessarily have a last point of supply, meaning a rebound. Okay, if there's no rebound, a straight leg down, then the sign of weakness and the LPSY just do not exist. So if we look at what happened back in 2022, that's exactly what I was talking about. So after the first sign of weakness, after the upthrust, there were two LPSY, one before the sign of weakness, the other after. And then afterwards, it traded sideways along the orange key level of 30,000. Okay, it looks very similar to where we are now. Okay, a few long red candles and then a tiny one. Okay, it looks like it's trading sideways, going back to here. It came down from that bear flag after a couple of long legs, a shorter red candle, and then traded sideways before the final leg down to the panic over stage. Okay, history may not repeat. So while I say it looks similar, it may not behave exactly the same. Just to let you know, it can happen in a way like that. Not that's the only way, okay? So if it really happens exactly the same, then it's very interesting to observe, right? As we study these kind of charts. So after explaining why this may not even be, there may not even be a sign of weakness and other rebound or LPSY, let's look at the key levels. When the price fell through from the bear flag, I already mentioned that we are potentially getting back to this range where Bitcoin would find more strong, solid support. The reason is because of this reaccumulation that happened back in 2024. Okay, it lasted from February all the way to October, okay, entire 8 months period. So that's where the price is playing around, let's put it this way. You see the wick went all the way to the orange key level, very close to the orange key level of 58.5K. That's where the low of reaccumulation zone was. Okay, that's why we kept seeing the price coming back down to the range between the orange and the green, the 68,000 level. Okay, still, the bulls or whoever bought the dip are able to defend this green line. But also key is that the price for 2 consecutive weeks hasn't been able to reclaim the ceiling of the long-term trend. Okay, not to mention this week, it hasn't even challenged the 74K light blue key level. So that's, I would say, a worrying sign for me that, if Bitcoin really comes back to, we re-challenge the bottom of the accumulation zone, these are potentially early signs. Okay, why, if you're new, okay, why there is a white line over here? If I shrink out, okay, if I zoom out, this is the long-term playground I was talking about. I basically track for almost all the projects a long-term behavior or long-term price range of that particular project. So for Bitcoin, ever since 2017, because the early days were basically like a flat line, as you can see. So from that point onwards, after the first peak back in 2021, and then all the way to where we are now, about 70-80% of the time, Bitcoin is trading within this area. The reason why it differs from the other projects is that, why it is slanting upwards with a slope. Most of the other altcoins, as you can see in my sessions, are basically flat playgrounds. This is factoring in, you can say, inflation factor or appreciation factor, whatever you like to term it, because Bitcoin is being treated differently from the other projects. So that's why its price behavior warrants a different kind of measurement. But it is not the only one also. Okay, you notice one or two from the top 10 are receiving this kind of treatment as well. And their price actions actually prove it. Okay, so big picture set. The risk to the downside is certainly higher, but I already mentioned it may be a sideways move for the near term if no particular good or bad news come out in the next couple of weeks. So let's get to the daily chart and take a detailed look. And it's very clear that Bitcoin hasn't gone outside of the downtrend yet. Okay, this downtrend started back in mid-January. We are at the 1 month mark now. Okay, it's still, you see, playing around this 68K line. And these couple of dates we mentioned, the 9th, has already been over. The 17th, you notice the trend going upwards, right? When we get to next week, or in the next few days, when we get closer to the 17th, if there are sufficient good news for the bulls, not looking like they have very good strength for the past few days, they will be able to confirm the downtrend is going to be over by the 17th. But like I said, this looks like a stretch target. More reasonable would be the 24th, as the price has climbed back to this level, but still being suppressed under this white line. Okay, there is a second opportunity. However, these are the optimistic views. The pessimistic or the downside risk I mentioned in the beginning, if Bitcoin continues to trade sideways for, all the way to the end of the month, as indicated by here, by the time we get close to the beginning of March, there is another occasion where the price will confirm. Is it going to be rejected by the ceiling of the downtrend and continues to break these levels to challenge lower levels before it starts the accumulation cycle in the bigger trend? It will be very interesting to observe what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. One complete speculation, just guessing out of the wild. If people are waiting for the new Fed chair to come into position and, reveal to the world what they're going to do, for the next 2 to 3 months, would the price come down, set a low, and when the new Fed chair, assumes position, then the price starts to stabilize and then rebound. Okay? Just pure guessing, not saying that the reality, there's a potential that the game can play out that way. If you're interested to access these sessions 2 days earlier than the others, join the channel membership now. Here's another video for you. Thank you.